When I first started writing about workplace age and aging in Forbes about 2.5 years ago, I was hard pressed to find anybody else doing the same thing in major media. But that's not the case anymore. There is a rising tide on this subject of age and ageism and ableism in the workplace. And that's what we need, because the change that we call for, workplace age equity across the age spectrum, is not just good for older people, it's good for everyone across every dimension of diversity. But you know what? It's really important for business success in the future of work. I'm not just talking about the looming talent shortages as birth rates around the world continue to decrease. I'm not talking about, you know, people continuing to break longevity records. I'm talking about increased employee engagement, productivity, and retention. The driving factor of an engaged, productive workplace shows a strong correlation to this idea of employee belonging. So in successful organizations, employees believe in the mission. They respect their leadership. They respect their colleagues, and they feel respected in return. They feel empowered to fully contribute. In other words, they feel like they belong. This increased productivity and innovation. This increases productivity and innovation. It also reduces sick days that are taken and turnover. But because even companies that go out of their way to be diverse and inclusive can fall short. And it's tricky because this sense of belonging is intrinsic to each employee. Companies can't mandate a feeling of trust and connectedness. And post-COVID, we're even more challenged than ever before. This whole idea of remote working is going to be around for a long time. But a lot of people who are in remote jobs feel incredibly disconnected from their teams. So managers have to understand, how do you keep employees motivated and engaged in long-term remote roles? How can you best manage a return to office and reteaming and re-engagement? And the many people that were impacted by layoffs, especially women who have left the workforce to care for children and other family members, and people who are older, are asking, am I ever going to be able to get back in again? All of this increases stress, and it reduces this sense of employee trust and belonging. But even before COVID, belongingness was continually disrupted and fractured through homogeneous employee cultures that excluded specific groups. We've seen this across every dimension of diversity, even unprotected categories such as people who carry excessive weight. And of course, it relates to age and aging in the workplace, particularly for early career and mature workers. But the exclusion of older workers is particularly unsettling, given that it predicts the future of work for everyone younger. And that threat becomes, socio-psychologically speaking, a shadowed threat that undermines trust and a sense of belonging. When younger people see that everyone in the hiring pool for an open vacancy only includes people under 40, or how older workers are being overlooked for training and promotions, are being made redundant. So I often share the story of a 31-year-old man in technology and his manager. The manager wasn't even 40. And the manager told the younger employee that he was putting away as much money as he could in savings in preparation for job loss. The younger employee was shocked because he considered his manager exceptionally capable. And when he asked what made the manager think the future with his company was uncertain, the manager said, because I'm almost 40. And that's old in this business. It has nothing to do with capability. It has nothing to do with past performance. It has nothing to do with the effort that he had put into keeping his tech skills up to date. It had everything to do with his turning 40. And at that moment, fear became an unexpected shadow threat in the younger employee's mind, undermining his feelings of trust and security and sense of belonging. But shadowed threat for younger employees is only part of the problem. You have older employees who've experienced age bias and discrimination, or they've either experienced it directly or they've seen it in others. That leads to a loss of this sense of belonging. So as you can see, age bias and discrimination produces this boomerang effect that negatively impacts everyone, which is one of the many arguments for seeking collective action that Ashton referred to. It's human nature for people to seek places and others that show us we matter. And decades of research show how social pain, such as feelings of exclusion, is very similar to physical pain. And when older employees are excluded from opportunities, when older applicants are excluded from opportunities, every aspect of their life is impacted, not just financial, but their overall health and well-being, just like Patrick mentioned earlier. So the challenge question I leave with you is, what will it take to shift the workplace culture from ageist and ableist to authentically diverse and multi-generational, one that nurtures trust and belongingness for all?